Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. If it's your first time visiting the channel, please subscribe. You'll be notified every time we publish a new video, which is usually twice a week. We seem to be keeping with that at the moment. We're getting good content out there twice a week, so that's what you'll be basically. Every time we do that, you'll get a notification and you'll be able to watch it as soon as it's published or as soon as you have time. This is a remake of today's video, which I'll probably just publish it tomorrow now, or I might publish it this evening. Basically because I recorded it on a different device and the sound quality wasn't too great, so we're kind of redoing it again. It was in the workshop last night, but now we're in one of the sheds. The tractors are parked. Basically what we're going to talk about today is the history of how we got into this kind of work. We're going to go back a good bit. We're going to bring it to a certain point and we're going to stop there, because what I want to do is I want to give some content over Christmas for people to watch, kill the boredom a small bit, so you know, it's kind of something enjoyable to listen to over the Christmas period when you're sitting down relaxing. It'll be just a bit enjoyable. I also want to add photos into it as I go along, and I suppose the photographic documentation starts basically kind of modern day, I suppose, in the last maybe 12 to 13 years. So I'm going to bring us as far as that, and we'll leave it at that. But anyway, basically how we got involved in this is our family has been involved in agriculture for probably 4 to 5 generations. Before that, I don't know. I don't have an extensive family history. My great-grandfather was an agricultural contractor of sorts. He used to do hire work with horses, ploughing and tilling and digging spuds, I think, was a big thing that time. And that's kind of how I'd know. That's as far back as I have the history of us doing this type of work. I was doing mulch and rushes in a farm 4 years ago, I suppose, and that one of the people on that farm he was well into his 90s, and he could remember my grandfather doing work for him, and my father and my great-grandfather. So there was 4 generations that had done work on that farm that that man could remember. So that was nice to speak to him. It was nice to know that, and it's just nice to know where you come from, basically. Moving on from that, my grandfather was at hire work as well, obviously. Started off with a couple of forts and majors. He did 1 or 2 of those. They progressed onto Massey Ferguson's. I'm not quite sure why they made the change from from forts into Massey, but they had a lot of 100 series Masseys, and a lot of those were bought new. They had a couple of 168s bought new, a couple of 135s, and they were at mostly hay. In those days, I suppose it was before silage became a kind of a popular thing, and they were also doing a lot of tillage. There would have been a good bit of tillage around here if you go back, and now there is very, very little. It's predominantly a dairy area. We'd be split between beef and dairy, probably 30% dairy, 70% dairy, 30% beef. But the tillage side of it is gone. In those days you had proper mixed farms. They had a bit of tillage, they were milking cows, and obviously they had cattle as well. So they were kind of self-sufficient in a way, you know. They had their own grain and they had their own straw for bedding, and I suppose the livestock then is what they made their money out of. They weren't necessarily growing the tillage side of it, the arable side of it, to make money, but it was more of a necessity. There was no such thing as slatted units or anything like that. Everything was bedded, and I suppose they needed straw and they needed grain and that kind of thing. So as time moved on, the tillage side of it slipped away, and they started going at grass silage. When they started at that, they had single chops and obviously progressed onto the double chops. Obviously they were extremely busy, because if you liken today what we do, we always cover 30 feet in the pass. You know, we're raking 30 feet, and we'll say the guys with self-propelled harvesters, they're picking, a lot of them now are moved to 50 feet, 4-rotor rakes, so around 50 feet. Those guys were on 40 to 50 inch harvesters. And to put that in perspective for anyone, kind of to put that in scale for you, your average ride-on lawnmower now is cutting more width than those guys were picking up with harvesters. So imagine pulling into a 30-acre field with a ride-on lawnmower. You'd be there for quite a long time. So I suppose everyone was hard at work, because obviously they weren't getting through the acreage boys can get through today, and that kind of put a totally different perspective on things in those days. They moved on from the 100 series Masseys to Zetters. They bought a couple of new Zetters, 8011s and that kind of stuff. They had a 2680 Massey and an 1135 Massey, and they never went on to precision chop silage because my grandfather passed away, and I suppose my father had to, you know, I suppose life kind of changed for him. He had to, you know, build a house and get married and rear the family, and I suppose the machinery thing kind of wasn't a priority at the time. So there's a period there, I suppose maybe of 15 to 20 years where we weren't involved in contracting at all. Even though my father still had one tractor, he purchased these 100 series Masseys. I think they bought 2 or 3 168s the same day. My father always tells the story that one of them went in for its, in those days, every tractor had to go in after 50 hours to get serviced, and it went in for its 50-hour service on either the 3rd or 4th day after it had been brought out. So the boys in the garage were in amazement at how was this yoke after clocking up to 50 hours in such a little amount of time. But that'll tell you the kind of pressure they were under that time to get through work, because the gear was so small. You didn't have the output that we have now. Like I think they were going through a square baler every year or every second year, something crazy anyway. There was crazy amounts being made. But I mean, if you converted what we do in round bales now into square bales, you'd be up in colossal amounts. So, you know, it's changed, the whole thing has changed. And I suppose when I was young, it was always talk, just cut 100 acres today, you know, pit silage, 100 acres was some going, I suppose, 12, 13 years ago, for guys with pit silage too. And sure, we'd often cover 100 acres now with a baler. So it's changed massively, the whole thing. Where it'll finish, I don't know. Is there room for it to go even more output? There probably is, because the more output you have, the more efficient you are. The more efficient you are, the lower your costs and everything are. So there's definitely a fine point there in the middle somewhere. Just as efficient as possible, but obviously without buying the best of everything. As when I started growing up, I was very enthusiastic about machinery and machinery made, and that kind of developed, and I suppose when I finished school we kind of really started going at it. I never went to college or any of that. In hindsight, I suppose I would have liked to have went and gotten further education. Not that I would have done anything different, I'd still be doing what I'm doing, but I just know it would have been nice to have, I suppose, train, serve my time somewhere fixing, so I'd have a bit more experience in that kind of side of it. But yeah, we plug along and we manage, and that's kind of how it panned out for us, and that's kind of where I'm gonna finish it, I think, for this video, because like I say, I want to add in pictures and such, so it'll give you something to look at over the Christmas. Which brings me on to my, I suppose, kind of my final points. We have a lot of stuff coming up. I think we're going to decorate one of these for Christmas. It'd be nice to, you know, put a few lights in it and make a bit of a display out of it, especially the year that's been in it. And I'm not one to kind of go on about the negativities in life, but you know, just something for people to see, I suppose, something a bit nice. And definitely I think we might decorate one of them and park it in the yard, so you'll be able to see it there. Other than that, we have a new machine coming, probably in the next week, 10 days I suppose. and I'm excited to show you all that. And our next part of this kind of series will be, basically, I'm just going to document what happened basically since myself and my father started up at it again. We were lucky enough that when we started, we kind of started gathering a nice amount of work fairly fast, but I suppose our name helped us an awful lot there. When we're the fourth generation at it, obviously, you know, your name is known in farming circles, and hopefully it's a well regarded name in farming circles. So that's kind of how we started developing it again, and it grew fairly quickly in fairness, and it has continued to grow since we started it. And every year there's always more and more work, which we're very grateful for. So that's kind of where I'm going to finish it. And like I say, I'll start from basically me coming out of school, or before I even came out of school, and I want to add in pictures along to show you machines that have came and went, and tell you the ins and outs of them, because I have first-hand experience at them, whereas older stuff I'm only kind of telling you second-hand. Kind of where I'm going to leave it, because it's going to be dark shortly, and I'm sure you're admiring the view of this car, and you're not going to be able to see it in the next few minutes. So that's basically the end of this. Let me know what you think. If you want to kind of see this series of stuff being talked about, let me know. Give a comment, and maybe if you're involved in it and your history, or you know, if you know, like if we're working in a place, I always like to know the history of it. And it's amazing how in a short space of time, over, well, say 100 years, which in the course of history is a very short amount of time, but it's always interesting to know what has happened in the last 100 years. And every place has a story, and everyone has an interesting tale. So let me know what your history is, and leave a comment about it. And basically, thanks for watching, and we'll see you during the week where we have a bit more exciting stuff to do. We've upgraded the lights here in this. Our roof lights are gone to LEDs, which are a direct replacement fit for the ones that were already on it, and it worked out absolutely lovely. We've set a direct replacement headlights for the Massey Ferguson LED as well, and we're going to change them during the week. We're going to do a bit of a tutorial on changing them, to show you hopefully how easy it'll be, and the differences between, you know, we'll kind of do a before and after shot and see how much of a difference the LED upgrade makes. So that's basically it for this video. Thanks everyone who's watched, and we'll see you there next week.